Good day everyone, I am Joanna May Polinar from Group 5 and our topic is all about road facilities. So, road facilities, it is an infrastructure and amenities that are provided along the roads to ensure safe and convenient travel for motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. Here is the common road facilities. Number 1, road signs. So, this sign is placed along the road to serve or to provide us information like hazard, road condition, direction, and speed limits. Traffic signals. These signals is used to control the traffic flow. Road marking. Symbols and markings that serve as a guideline like lane divider, arrows, and crosswalk. Street lighting. Street lights are installed along the road to provide illumination during nighttime, also to improve their visibility and safety. Pedestrian crossing. These are designated area on the road where pedestrian can safely walk. Bicycle lanes. From the word bicycle, syempre, para sa mga siklista natin to provide a safe space for them. Roadside rest area. It is usually located sa mga highway and major road wherein motorists can take a break or when they need to use restroom or when they have an emergency. Clear zone. A clear zone is an obstructed, traversable roadside area that allows driver to stop safely. So, sa madaling salita, ito yung clear zone na where vehicle can live without any conflict. Clear zone is also a designated area to provide a safety buffer for errant vehicles nga and also to minimize the severity of crashes. Syempre, sa highway, hindi naman natin maiiwasan yung mga accident or crashes. So, yung width ng isang clear zone is nakabase siya sa traffic volume, speed, and slope ng isang highway. So, next slide, makikita natin, ito yung example ng clear zone. So, yung sa gilid, yun yung travel way kung saan dumadaan yung mga sasakyan. And yung dalawang vertical lines dyan, yung red vertical lines, yan yung clear zone natin. Tapos, yung nakaungkat, yung parang nakaslide na nakaganon, ito yung slope. Yung slope na yan is a traversable slope na pwede siyang recoverable or non-recoverable slope. Yung traversable slope, ito yung slope with a clear run-out area and it's. So here is the benefits of clear zone. So number 1, we have safety. Enhance safety. By providing a clear area alongside the road, the risk of collision with fixed objects is reduced. This helps to protect vehicles, occupants, and minimizes the severity of crashes. Just like what I said in the previous slides, isa din sa functions ng clear zone is to minimize the severity of crashes. Second, we have improved recovery space. If a driver loses control of their vehicle, a clear zone provides additional space for them to regain control and safely return to the roadway. Third, we have increased visibility. A clear zone allows for a better visibility of road signs, traffic signals, and other important roadway features, improving driver awareness and reaction time. And lastly, we have accessibility of emergency vehicles. A clear zone ensures that emergency vehicles can easily access the road in case of emergency, reducing response times and potentially saving lives. Useful siya sa mga ambulance or yun nga, pag may emergency na nangyari sa roadway. So, what is safety barrier? So, safety barrier is a physical or virtual structure designed to prevent or limit access to dangerous or restricted area. It used to protect not just people but also property, potential hazards, or accidents. Most of the barrier we see along the roads are made of steel, concrete, plastic, or wire mesh. And usually, meron siyang kasamang warning sign or signal sa gilid to alert motorists of potential accidents. So, ang main purpose ng safety barrier is to create a safe environment by controlling the flow of vehicles and reducing risk of accidents.
Hello everyone, I am Jenny Pangilinan and let's proceed to general warrants for the use of highway safety barriers. So, general warrants for the use of highway safety barriers refers to the authorization or approval granted by transportation authorities for the installation and use of safety barriers on highways. The use of safety barriers is an important measure to enhance road safety and reduce the severity of accident. General warrants for the use typically involve the following considerations. Number one, traffic volume and speed. The decision to install safety barriers is often based on the volume of traffic and the speed limit of the road. Highway speed roads with heavy traffic flow are more likely to require safety barriers to mitigate the risk of severe accidents. Number two, road geometry. The alignment of geometry of the road, such as curves, slopes, and narrow sections, are factors that influence the need for safety barriers. These features can increase the likelihood of vehicle veering off the road and crossing into opposing lanes. For example, yung mga forced slope and back slope, then ditches, ito yung mga, lalo na kung mga rough siya, kung malalalim siya na ditches, ito yung mga kailangan lagyan talaga ng safety barriers to, para maiwasan yung mga accident. So, proceed tayo sa types of safety barriers. First is wire rope barriers. Wire rope barriers are utilized to stop motor vehicles from being sidetracked. Roads are placed with wire ropes or cable barriers on the sidelines. These are built with solid vertical posts with 2 to 3 horizontal ropes. They are selected for their lower cost and effortless upkeep, while yet furnishing visibility. It is a type of roadside or median safety traffic barrier or guardrail. Mostly may kita siya sa mga malalaking kalsada like sa SLEX. May kita nyo or mapapansin ninyo na meron silang nilalagay na median safety traffic barrier or guardrail. Next is A-frame barrier. An A-frame barrier is a kind of barricade that is mostly utilized for low traffic zones. It is generally built of a horizontal board with reflector on its edges. Due to its lightweight layout, it is not suitable for highway traffic zones. It is normally put to use short-term construction projects, school areas, and crowd control. Next is delineator tubes. It is contrary to other barrier types that have broad footprints. Delineator tubes have a narrow layout. These are utilized to signal danger to incoming pedestrians and vehicles in a place of serving as barricades. Due to their height and neon colors, these are located on roads with low visibility to assist and aid drivers. Next is concrete barriers. Concrete barriers are rigid structures made of concrete that is used to separate and protect areas to control traffic flow and provide safety in various settings, such as roadways, construction sites. Concrete barriers prevent vehicles from entering the opposite lane and going off the road. An important factor in the design of concrete barriers is impact load, which a vehicle exerts upon collision with a concrete barrier. Next is longitudinal channelizing devices, or LCD. These units are used to delineate or channelize vehicles and pedestrians. LCDs help address work zone safety by preventing pedestrians and vehicles from entering work areas. Next is plastic barriers. It is offer highly visible pedestrian safety, which can be particularly useful in guiding pedestrians around or away from roadworks and minor excavations or hazards. And last is traffic cones. The main purpose of traffic cones is providing safety and sending an alert to the people who are driving on the road. These cones mostly indicate that some construction is going on ahead or that the area is not safe to drive through.
So hello everyone, I'm Vanessa Ponce. I'll be going to report about the drainage facilities and motorcycle facilities. But first, let me discuss about two types of drainage facilities. We have the surface drainage. So in surface drainage, it is the system to control water runoff from road surface in order to stop the erosion, flooding, and damage to the road infrastructure. It also involves yung planning, design, and construction such as gutters and culverts. Second, we have the subsurface drainage. So yung subsurface drainage, it is the system pipes and structures that installed sa ilalim ng surface roads to manage yung pagdaloy ng tubig. This is crucial to avoid water accumulation at pag-iwas ng pavement damage para ma-ensure yung stability and longevity of roadway. Next, we have the usage of proper gears. So, one essential component of motorcycle traffic laws is the wearing of safety equipment such as helmets and protective clothes. In the event of an accident, it helps protect riders from lowering the possibility of fatalities or major injuries. That's all. Next, we have the motorcycle facilities. So, yung motorcycle facilities follow traffic rules. When riding a motorbike, one must abide by a traffic law which is include utilizing turn signals, respecting speed limits, and abstaining from drug and alcohol use. For the safety of drivers, these laws are necessary.
Hi, I am Rachel Castillo and I will tackle about the bicycle facilities. Bicycle facilities has a variety of amenities and infrastructure intended to meet the goal of a healthier and more environmentally friendly mode of transportation. Bicycle facilities are beneficial because we all know that bicycles do not have internal combustion engines and they do not also use fossil fuel to operate, which it helpful to lessen the air pollution and are convenient mode of transportation. um, Bicycle facilities do not only limit to the standard road lanes, wide outside lanes, and bicycle racks, but also it is a must to include the intersection control features and bikeway signings and markings to ensure safety. Now, let's talk about parking. The goal of parking is to make parking spaces available and accessible to those in need, while also preventing congestion and promoting safety. That is why there is an effective parking management which can help prevent accidents and promote safety to all drivers by reducing the number of vehicles on the road and reducing the likelihood of collisions. On-street parking can narrow the effect width of the roadway. However, it may also increase collision associated with vehicles attempting to pull in out of parking spaces. This slide talks about the design safety strategies for bicycle facilities. The first purpose is to reduce likelihood of crash by using wider curbside lanes and increasing operational offsets. The second one is to reduce severity of crashes to be able to locate bicycle racks as far away as possible from the road. That is why it is crucial to review the current safety measures and strategies for the places of cyclists. This includes examining the design as well as the presence of the traffic markings, measures, and signage. The goal is to identify any potential hazards or areas where improvements can be made to ensure the safety of the cyclist.
Hello, I'm Christopher Ryan Faustina Correa, and the topic that I will be discussing is pedestrian facilities. Ngayon, ano nga ba ang pedestrian facilities? Well, pedestrian facilities serve as the very foundation of multimodal transportation systems. Multimodal transportation systems, meaning the travel of goods and people through roadways. Some example of this is via motorcycle, via car, via walking, cycling, or running can be a part of multimodal transportation system. The second part is the AASHTO says that walking is a fundamental form of transportation since all travelers are pedestrians at some point, and many travelers go out on foot or walk as a form of recreation and exercise. What does this mean? It means that even if you're going via car, via bicycle, via motorcycle, you are a pedestrian at some point or another since For example, you're going to the store via car. Of course, you're going to have to get off to buy your things at the store and pay for it, meaning that at some point or another there, you are a pedestrian. And also, a lot of people walk or like run to to gain exercise. A lot of disabled people as well do that. So they use it for exercise and recreation. Some examples of pedestrian facilities include sidewalks, walkways, and crosswalks. Sidewalks should be 4 feet with clearance in residential areas and in a range of 4 to 8 feet in commercial areas, meaning that the sidewalks you see by your house are minimum 4 feet, and the sidewalks that you see, for example, at the malls are 4 to 8 feet minimum. Another tidbit on sidewalks is that there are more sidewalks in urbanized areas such as the cities, and less in rural, as expected, since in cities there is a lot of cars, there's a lot of vehicles, thus meaning a lot of sidewalks are needed. Meanwhile, in provinces, not as the case. Walkways are abundant in rural areas and few and far between in urban areas. You can see maybe a walkway in a park in urbanized areas, but more often than not, you can see them more in provinces. Since there aren't a need to sidewalks, but there's a need to walkways, since walkways provide a path cutting through nature or like terrain, providing easy access. Crosswalks, the same as sidewalks, more popular and more prevalent in urbanized areas, since a lot of people need to go to other side of the street. You have to cross the street some point or another in urbanized areas, thus creating the need for crosswalks. What are the uses and purpose of pedestrian facilities? Well, one can be safety, since it says here that reduced motor vehicle pedestrian crash likelihood at roadside locations. You don't really see a lot of accidents at sidewalks, since a lot of people have the understanding that it's very safe, and it's put there for a purpose. You know, no motorist will go to a sidewalk willingly. For example, cars won't go there, and motorcycles maybe sometimes go there in the Philippines, but in other countries, more often than not, they won't be. Reduce severity of vehicle and pedestrian crashes at roadside locations. This ties into the point I previously mentioned. Even if there is an accident there, it would be very likely to be a very minor one, since vehicles and motorists are trained to like swerve when approaching a sidewalk. It's since it's stopped, as well as the curb of a sidewalk is very high. So even if they lost control of the vehicle and it's going to a sidewalk and they can't help it, the curb will provide some amount of force resistance. Since the curb is very high. I believe it's 8 inches. 4 to 8 inches. Signpost and roadside hardware. The purpose of signposts and roadside hardware is to treat individual poles or posts in high-risk locations. The strategy here is remove or relocate poles. Place poles on inside of horizontal curves and avoid placement on outside roundabouts or too close to the intersection corners. Meaning that if you ever observed in a intersection or a highway in the Philippines, the poles are always in a far back position, so that they will be less of a threat. Use breakaway or yielding post, meaning in the event that someone does hit it, it should break without much of force. That's why you can see like signposts using the poles that have dots in them. They are hollow, they have dots akin to what you see on notebooks that have this dotted line, so you can tear a piece of it easily. Maybe a good example of this is if you ever seen packets of, for example, Milo or a conditioner. You see dotted lines between each packet, so that when you tear, it can easily break off. But it is sufficiently durable enough so that less force can easily break it. That's the same example as the poles, the strategies that poles incorporate, so that it can be durable enough for the average person. They can maybe lean on it, strike it, and it won't break. But if a sufficient amount of force is applied to it, it will break without much resilience. Akin to the example earlier, shield poles and improbability. Those are, for example, improbability. You can see like a stop sign from far away. That's the example. Treat multiple poles or posts in high-risk locations. Na strategies are establish urban enhanced lateral offset guidance for pole setbacks, distance from curve, place utilities underground while maintaining appropriate nighttime visibility. For example, the glow-in-the-dark trace lines in roads and highways. Those are examples. Combine utilities and signposts into shared posts. Replace poles with building-mounted suspended lighting where suitable. The next one is minimize level of severity. Reduces travel speed on adjacent roads.
So, good day everyone. My name is Arabella D. Mayor from Group 5. So, our topic is all about functional classification of traffic control devices. So, first, let me explain what is the meaning of this. This refers to categorizing these devices based on their intended purposes or function in managing traffic flow and promoting safety. So, these are the traffic sign colors. So, first we have color white for regulatory control traffic, set limits or give command. Second is color red for stop, do not enter, or yield. Next one is color orange for construction and maintenance warning. Next is color yellow for general warning, advisory of unexpected roadway condition. Next is color green for guide or directional information. Next is blue for driver guidance, also used to identify parking spaces. Next is color brown for areas public, recreation, or cultural. For the pavement markings, we have longitudinal lines, transverse lines, other markings, and message and symbols, object markings, raised pavement markings. So, on pavement markings, as you can see on the picture, we have a divided highway. Highway design where the lanes for traffic traveling in opposite direction are physically separated, often by a median or barrier. For the second peak, we have 2-lane 2 highway. There are 2 lanes or traffic flowing in each direction para hindi na rin siguro magpanggaan yung mga sasakyan. Kaya may 2 lanes dyan na 2 yellow. So, third peak is bridge. Also includes a bridge structure which is a construction that spans an obstacle such a river, valley, or another road to allow passage over it. So, next picture, that is raised pavement markings. Kadalasan nakikita ko yan sa kalsada kapag gabi. Minsan nga pa yan, parang ilaw para sa mga dumadaan na mga motorsiklo or mga sasakyan. So, the last picture is reflective traffic marking para din yan sa mga nagdadrive na katulad ng mga motorsiklo at sasakyan para nakikita nila yung daan ng mas maigi para hindi sila magbanggaan. Thank you.
So, my name is Martisin B. Caniega, and for the continuation of our report, in this part, I'll be explaining about the principles when it comes to traffic control devices. So, the first one is standardization of shape, color, dimension, legends, and illuminations or reflections of traffic signs. So, it is crucial for consistency and clarity na kailangan iisa and standard yung size and colors ng mga traffic signs sa kahit saang location ito para ma-recognize agad ng mga drivers ang mga sign once na nakita nila ito. lalo na kapag naka-green ang stoplight, syempre onti lang ang time na meron ang mga drivers kasi umaandar rin ang ibang kotse. Kaya once nakita nila ang mga signs na ito, alam na nila agad ang kanilang gagawin. So, mare-reduce natin ang accidents and stuff. So, the next one is uniformity of traffic control devices. So, hindi lang ang mga traffic signs ang dapat iisa or uniform ang kanilang mga size and colors. Pati na rin ang mga cones, signs, barricades, pavement markings, and traffic signals. So, once na familiar na ang mga drivers at mga traffic control devices, hindi sila mako-confuse sa kanilang gagawin sa road. Tsaka isa pa, when traffic control devices are consistent, drivers are more likely to obey signals and instructions, and marireduce ang kanilang confusions, pati na rin ang mga accidents sa road. That's all.
Traffic signs, nagsisilbing guide sa isang place, madalas natin nakikita sa gilid at sa itaas ng highways na nagbibigay specific instruction and warning sa mga drivers para maging safe sa daan. Regulatory signs, under siya ng law na ipinatutupad ng mga enforcers sa roads. Example nito, no parking, speed limit, no U-turn, and etc. na kapag hindi nasunod, magkakaroon ka ng multa. Warning signs, nagsisilbing guide sa mga drivers na maging alerto sa mga possible threats. Example nito, curb ahead, pedestrian, crossing, slippery road, and etc. Guide signs, nagbibigay sa drivers ng direction and mileage information sa drivers. Example nito, destination, exit signs, street names, and etc. Informational sign, tungkol naman ito sa service facility and point of interest. Madalas ito makita sa mga restaurant na hindi gaano mabilis mahanap, tsaka mga hotels, gas station, and etc. Construction and maintenance signs, madalas natin to makita sa mga inaayos na kalsada para maging aware tayo na may undergo construction sa area. Lane use control signs, nagsisilbing guide to sa mga drivers na anong direction ng lane, kung pa right side ba o isang diretso lang. Emergency sign, nagbibigay ito ng information about emergency services. Madalas to makita sa hospital and police station. Pedestrian sign, nakadesign to para sa safety ng mga taong tumatawid sa kalsada. Example nito, crossing sign, pedestrian crossing, and etc.
Good evening po. Ako po si Mark Andre M. Galera, and ako po ang mag-report sa speed bump and speed hump. Speed hump is referred to as pavement undulations or sleeping policemen, and ang height niya is usually 3 to 3.5. Speed bump is katulad lang ng speed hump, but ang pinagkaiba lang niya is yung radius. Ang radius ng speed bump is 3 to 6 inches or kalahati ng ruler. And ang purpose na itong dalawang to is to provide protection to civilians in locations such as school zones, residential areas, and parking lots, and to slow down vehicles to prevent accidents. Ito po ay itsura ng speed bump and speed hump. And ang pinagkaiba po nila is the way they make vehicles slow down. The speed hump is about 20 miles per hour or 32 kilometers per hour, while sa speed bump naman is 5 miles per hour or 8 kilometers per hour. And ipapakita ko naman po sa inyo ang mga nangyayari kapag hindi nag-slow down sa speed bump and speed hump. That is all. Thank you.